Have you ever been told, just be nice and the world will be nice to you? It's comforting advice, something we grow up believing without question. But what if sometimes being too nice isn't the answer at all? Imagine this. You're at work, a friend asks for help, a task you could reasonably do, but you've been running on empty. Maybe you agree anyway, not because you're eager, but because a little voice inside tells you it's your duty to help, that this is what a good person would do. But later, there's resentment, a feeling you gave away a piece of yourself you didn't really want to give. That moment of hesitation, that's where we begin. Kindness is supposed to elevate us, to connect us. But what happens when it does the opposite? When our kindness starts to erode the very foundation of our well-being, we need to ask, where does kindness end and self-preservation begin? Let's start with the paradox of kindness, a value that seems pure, universally good, and yet, when practiced without limits, can lead us down an unexpected road of self-neglect, frustration, and even resentment. How can kindness, something rooted in empathy, warmth, and compassion, become something that holds us back? Psychologists have studied this extensively, and they found that while kindness is a cornerstone of healthy social bonds, it can morph into people-pleasing or a loss of self if we're not careful. From a young age, most of us are taught that kindness is a virtue above all. We're encouraged to be generous, forgiving, and helpful. These are wonderful traits, but as we grow, something else often comes into play: social pressure. We start to internalize the idea that we should be nice at all costs. This desire for approval, for acceptance, really becomes tangled with our concept of kindness. Our brains crave that positive reinforcement, that subtle affirmation that we are liked, appreciated, or needed. Imagine you're the go-to person in your circle, the one who always says yes, who's always there when others need support. At first, it feels good. You're making a difference, building connections. But over time, if you start to feel drained or unappreciated, the very kindness that once made you feel connected can make you feel isolated. The need for validation pulls you toward overcommitting, but it leaves you drifting further from your own center. What does it mean to be authentically kind? Sometimes it's standing up for yourself, setting boundaries, or even saying no when you need to. True kindness isn't about endless self-sacrifice. It's about a balanced empathy that respects your needs as much as others. Psychologists refer to this balance as assertive kindness. Assertive kindness is about showing up genuinely for others without compromising who we are. When we give without boundaries, we risk losing parts of ourselves, and in the process, our acts of kindness may become hollow or even insincere. Consider the idea of boundaries. They're often viewed as barriers to closeness, but in reality, they allow relationships to thrive by fostering mutual respect. Think of boundaries as the structure around your kindness. Without them, kindness has no shape. It's endless, undefined, but with them your kindness gains integrity. The nice trap is a psychological pattern deeply rooted in the need for acceptance and belonging. Our minds are wired to seek connection and avoid conflict, but this tendency can become unhealthy if we associate kindness with constant compliance. Dopamine, the feel-good chemical, plays a role here too. Each time we help someone or receive a compliment, we get a little rush of dopamine. This reinforces the behavior making it easy to fall into a pattern of niceness addiction. Studies have shown that individuals who frequently prioritize others over themselves often struggle with self-worth and may have a heightened fear of rejection. So, ironically, the same kindness that helps them form connections can keep them in a cycle of people-pleasing, where the approval of others becomes a substitute for their own inner validation. If kindness is misapplied or given without limits, it can lead to burnout, a state of physical and emotional exhaustion. Burnout often affects those in caregiving roles, but it can impact anyone who feels overextended in their attempts to be helpful. When you constantly prioritize others, there's a toll. The energy you expend is finite, and without proper replenishment, you risk not only physical and emotional fatigue, but also the erosion of your sense of self. The antidote isn't to be unkind, but rather to give mindfully. By practicing compassionate kindness, a kindness that considers your needs as well as others, you create a more sustainable, nourishing way of connecting. Let's consider real-life examples. Take Emma, who was the go-to person in her office. She was the first to volunteer for extra work, cover for others, and take on projects outside her job description. But over time, her helpfulness became expected. Her kindness was no longer valued as a choice, but was taken as a given. Emma started to feel invisible, like her worth was tied solely to what she could do for others. This is where kindness without boundaries can start to diminish our own self-respect. Emma's turning point came when she realized she needed to take ownership of her kindness. She learned that saying no didn't make her selfish. It made her honest, and in doing so, her kindness became a choice again. Something genuine rather than something coerced by social expectation. So, here's the takeaway. Kindness, to be truly powerful, has to be genuine, sustainable, and rooted in respect for both ourselves and others. It's not about sacrificing ourselves endlessly, nor is it about hiding behind politeness. True kindness is courageous. It's willing to speak the truth, set boundaries, and be vulnerable. When we're kind with intention, we don't just serve others, we honor ourselves. As we end today's reflection, think about your own relationship with kindness. Are there areas where you're giving more than you should? Are there places where being nice has become a stand-in for your true F? If this exploration has resonated with you, please consider sharing your experiences below. Let us know how kindness has shaped your life and where you found that boundary between giving to others and staying true to yourself. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more insights into the psychology that shapes our daily lives. Until next time on Psychology Life Hacks, let's keep learning, growing, and finding ways to live with intention.